Different people may have different definitions of what they consider to be a minimalist phone. It can be minimal in price, in size, in aesthetics, or in the number of features. So in this video, I'm going to compare the newest and slimmest iPhone Air with the smallest iPhone 13 mini and the budget-friendly iPhone 16e. These are phones that I think many people will consider to be minimalist phones because they each have characteristics that make them stand out from the regular or pro iPhone models. First up, let's talk about the design and ergonomics of each of these phones. Now, I know design is really subjective, but for the iPhone 16e, I think there's something really clean and minimal about having just a single lens without any camera bump. It's like the iPhone XR and the iPhone SE, but in a more rugged and boxy design that modern iPhones have. The iPhone 13 mini also has that boxy and rectangular design, but its small form factor makes it look kinda cute, especially when you place it beside a Pro Max iPhone. I think that we have been so accustomed to using larger phones to the point where we kind of forgot how nice it feels to be able to reach across the corners of the screen with just one hand. If you are a minimalist who prioritizes lightweight and small form factor, there's really no other iPhone models that come anywhere near the iPhone 13 mini, and it's a real pity for Apple to discontinue it. As for the iPhone Air, although it has the largest screen out of all these three phones, it still feels surprisingly ergonomic because of its thin borders. It's not ergonomic in the same way as the iPhone 13 mini because it has a much larger 6.5-inch screen. But it doesn't have that heaviness or the bulky form factor that you typically have to live with if you want an iPhone with a larger screen. The glossy silver border on the iPhone Air makes it look like a piece of jewelry, and I think that it is the best looking one out of all these three phones. I don't think it would be far-fetched to say that if Steve Jobs was still alive in 2025, he would likely be very proud of the iPhone Air. By the way, if you're interested in the leather phone case on my iPhone Air, they are actually from TEKMOMO, which is a brand that's owned by a fellow YouTuber, Kasim Zafar. I'm very impressed with the quality of the leather, and there is even a nice leather smell to it. The leather feels naturally grippy and the buttons are firm, making them feel very responsive. They do sell the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro versions as well, so definitely check out my link in the description below if you're interested. Next up, battery life. Now, it's pretty obvious that the iPhone 16e is going to be the winner because it has the largest battery capacity. It is the companion phone that I use for my bedroom studio because it seldom runs out of battery when I need to use it. Now, as for the iPhone Air, I think that people are making too big of a fuss out of its battery capacity because most people don't realize that the iPhone Air's battery capacity is actually very similar to the iPhone 14, the iPhone 15, and the 15 Pro. And back in those days, people got by the entire day with those phones without any issue, so I think that people are a little too overly bothered by the battery capacity on the iPhone Air. But I think this is partly Apple's fault as well because they marketed the iPhone Air with a battery pack, which is no doubt going to make people suspicious of the battery life on the iPhone Air. And when you put the iPhone Air's battery capacity side by side with the regular iPhone 17 and 17 Pro, which both got a battery boost this year, people are naturally going to compare them and think that the iPhone Air's battery is bad even without trying it for themselves. In real world use, I have no problems getting by an entire day with the iPhone Air, and I can confidently say that even though I have the MagSafe battery pack, I haven't had to use it for more than 2 times, even after owning the iPhone Air for close to 2 months. The iPhone 13 mini is naturally going to score quite poorly in terms of battery life because of its small battery capacity, and this is despite replacing the batteries to brand new ones. Initially, I tried to charge the iPhone 13 mini to 80% only to preserve the battery longevity, but I find that it would very easily drop below 20% and I would constantly have battery anxiety throughout the day. And so that is why right now I'm just like, screw it, let's just charge it to 100%, and after that I had no problems getting by an entire day without using a power bank and no more battery anxiety problems anymore. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, do consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. You can also follow my Instagram page to stay updated on what I'm currently working on. Alright, back to the review. Next up, the screen. There is no doubt that the iPhone Air has the fanciest screen out of these three phones because it has 120Hz refresh rate, a higher maximum brightness level, and a larger screen. In fact, I find myself using the iPhone Air a lot as an entertainment device because it's light enough to use while lying in bed without my hands feeling tired after holding it for long durations. As for the iPhone 13 mini and the 16e, the screen is still more than good enough for productivity tasks and for entertainment because both of them still have the Super Retina XDR display, just like the iPhone Air. Their contrast ratio is also the same, and the screen resolution also matches up to the iPhone Air. However, they don't have the always-on display and the dynamic island, but I see those things as nice to haves rather than essential features. I also don't mind the slower 60Hz refresh rate on the 16E and the iPhone 13 mini, because I think that when you're focused on doing something on your phone, the refresh rate is something that you won't even pay attention to after some time. But one issue that I have with the iPhone 13 mini is its max brightness. Because of the lower maximum brightness, I find that the colors on the screen look less vibrant sometimes when watching drama or movies. I think that the screen on the iPhone 16e is a good in-between between the iPhone Air and the iPhone 13 mini. The screen is not too large to the point where it's difficult to touch the opposite corners of the screen, and it is also bright enough for entertainment purposes. Alright, next up, let's talk about the cameras. Both the iPhone 16e and the iPhone Air only have a single camera lens, but they can both do a 2x optical zoom. This is essentially just a crop on the sensor to produce a tighter field of view, and because the iPhone 16e and the iPhone Air can both do 48 megapixel photos, the photos still look relatively sharp after zooming in. You can technically do something similar with the iPhone 13 mini by using a third-party camera app or by simply cropping the photo in post. But the photos don't look as sharp after cropping in because it only takes 12 megapixel photos. With that being said, if you're not a professional and you're just sharing it on social media for fun, it's not that big of a deal because social media apps are going to compress your photos anyway. And that is why if you were to look at my Instagram page, I was still able to take pretty decent photos with minimal editing using the iPhone 13 mini's camera. In fact, I think that having an ultra-wide lens on the iPhone 13 mini is more important and more useful because if you are in a tight indoor space and you don't have much room to step backwards, then you are going to completely miss the shot without an ultra-wide camera. Next up, charging. The iPhone 13 mini is the only phone in this bunch that still uses a lightning connector, so it is not that minimal because you will have to keep a lightning cable around with you if you are already mostly using USB-C devices. But thankfully, the iPhone 13 mini still supports wireless charging, so you have another charging option if you don't have a lightning cable with you. But the iPhone 13 mini can only wirelessly charge at 12 watts of power. It is still better than the iPhone 16e though, which only supports Qi charging up to 7.5 watts. But I wouldn't even try wireless charging with the iPhone 16e because 7.5 watts is just too slow and the phone also gets ridiculously warm. The iPhone Air does 20 watts of wireless charging, which is the highest amongst these three phones. And if you do get the battery pack, it actually has some intelligent wireless charging features that keeps the iPhone Air at 90% constantly, instead of switching off after it's done like what you see with third-party power banks. If you want to find out more about the battery pack, you can check out my dedicated review of it somewhere right over here. Next up, performance. I believe that many people are concerned about the performance of the iPhone Air because it's thin and so they think that the thermals are supposedly not going to be as good. But based on my previous test on the iPhone Air, it is actually more than capable of handling intensive 3D games with minimal drop in frame rate. I could also edit photos in Lightroom using the iPhone Air without any lag or stuttering. So please don't underestimate the performance of the iPhone Air like how most people do simply because it's a thinner phone. The iPhone 16e is also very capable when it comes to performance because it uses the A18 chip. Similar to the iPhone Air, I have no problems editing photos in Lightroom on the iPhone 16e as well. But for the iPhone 13 mini, it has an A15 chip which is 3 generations older than what the 16e uses. Doing photo editing in the native Photos app is fine, but editing in Lightroom can feel somewhat laggy and the phone does warm up noticeably. Switching between apps also feel less snappy on the iPhone 13 mini, and this could be because it only has 4GB of RAM, which is half of what the 16e and the iPhone Air has. But despite so, I think that if you are the kind of minimalist that seldom use your phone, or if you want to be more intentional with how you use your phone, then I think that the poorer performance of the iPhone 13 mini can be a positive side effect as well. So overall, I think that if you're a minimalist who loves a well-engineered phone that is slim, light, and looks like a piece of jewelry, and has a larger screen, then the iPhone Air is the one to go for if you don't mind paying a premium for it. If you're a minimalist who is tired of chunky phones and you want a small and light iPhone that can be operated with a single hand, then the iPhone 13 mini is the best option for you if you're alright with the compromise on the battery life and the performance. If you are a minimalist who wants the best bang for buck option, I think that the iPhone 16e will be your best bet because you get outstanding battery life, snappy performance, and a decently large screen for entertainment purposes. All of this at a pretty affordable price. So what do you think about my recommendation? Do you agree with it? I would be very interested to know what kind of minimalist you are and which iPhone model would you go for if money is no concern for you. That's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.